Thanks for being here. I love your name, by the way.
Thank you.
Wexler is just like a cool name. Like, I feel like that could be a first name.
All right. I'll take that.
Do people tell you that?
No, I've never heard that.
It's the first time?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, there you go.
Cool.
So you've written this book, The Inspired Athlete. I want to get into that in a little bit. But you're just like a really inspiring dude.
Awesome.
Like,
Appreciate
I love
that.
it. Like, I was
Thank
looking
you.
on all your social media, and it's just so nice to see somebody that's like inspired, motivating, helping others, has a smile on his face. Like, how did you get that way?
Oh man, what a great question. Well, first of all, thanks again for having me
Yeah.
here. I'm honored to be here. Love your show.
Thank you.
Watched a couple episodes, and I really like what you're doing. I love the energy that you're putting out there. It's
Thank you.
really helpful.
Appreciate that.
How did I get to? Well, I think what I've been able to do lately, not my whole life, lately, is been able to tap into my true self.
Nice.
Yeah.
And just lately, and lately you
yeah.
mean like in the last year? Like, did something happen?
Yeah.
Was there an aha moment?
Yeah. Well, yes, definitely. But the general way, without getting too specific,
Yeah.
is kind of tuning into my own spiritual practice a little bit more lately. Being aware that I have a true self and an ego, and the awareness is to say, let me allow my true self to come through more.
Yeah.
The ego is great. Like, I think the ego it's good to have, especially for sports. I'm an athlete. But I think I'm been able to be like, hey, ego, chill out for a little bit. Let me get to my true self a little bit more.
I love that. You're
Yeah.
like speaking my language, because I always say that, unless we have that awareness, we can't work on these things.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we go through life and we're not aware of any of that.
Yeah.
Or have the accountability in that space either, because we don't have the awareness. And when you start to get that awareness, it's like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because I feel the same way. And like, I check myself on a daily basis. I do my daily inventory, where I like look at my day at the end of the day, and I'm like, all right, where could I have done better? What am I proud of? Do I need to, X, Y, and Z, those things, and like having that awareness.
Yeah.
And ego and pride is just such a killer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like you said, they're just not aware to see that.
Yeah. And, I don't want to demonize the ego, because
Yeah.
I think the ego is there for a reason, right? It's there to protect you, right? If you're
sure.
in danger. And it also it's good to have it there if you want to win a competition.
Yeah.
But we just don't need the ego all the time. So
No,
I think
balance.
going back to your question, it's like, I think the awareness of being able to differentiate and have discernment, the discernment for different choices and different things that are going on in life.
Yeah.
Am I operating from my ego? Am I operating from my true self? So yeah, being able to say, okay, oh wait, I'm operating from my ego. Let me check myself. I want to get back to my true self. Okay, yeah, it feels better.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you're a California guy.
Born and raised.
Nice. And
Yeah.
where were you raised?
Venice Beach.
Venice Beach.
Yeah,
I
went to
live.
Samuel High, went to UCLA. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I lived there for a few years. It's got
Cool.
a lot of culture. Very cool place to grow up. Were you
Yeah.
surfing, or you said you were an athlete? So
Yeah, so I played baseball up until about 12, 13, and then I discovered beach volleyball.
Okay.
And I was at the beach the whole, I'm not a great surfer, but all surfers have had one of those stories where you get pulled under and it's like, So I had one of those.
Yeah,
And discovered beach volleyball and just kind of fell in love with it. Ended up playing at UCLA and a little bit on the Pro Beach Volleyball Tour.
Nice.
And now I have a youth beach volleyball club, West Coast Beach. And
West Coast Beach.
Yeah, and so we teach the game, girls and boys, ages 6 to 18, and next year will be our 10th year.
I love that.
Yeah,
10 years.
10 years.
So you just have that tan year round. I noticed right when you walked in, I was like, he's really tanned.
I'm super blessed, super lucky, and super grateful for the lifestyle that I've chosen.
Yeah.
And to be able to be in the sand most of my days it's a huge blessing. I'm very, very grateful. Yeah.
What have you learned the most with being around the kids all the time, teaching them? What have they taught you?
Wow, what a great question. That joy is our natural state.
Say that one more time.
Joy is our natural state. And that's really something that they have taught me, because, it's after a while, I want to share this too. Like when you're doing something for about 10 years now, it'll almost be 10 years for us. There's a little bit of burnout that can happen.
Yeah.
Right. But I keep getting reminded of that joy, you know, when a kid has a breakthrough or they're having so much fun, or even the coaches are having fun. Fun is the ultimate, right? It's the best, you know?
Yeah.
So that joy, I'm constantly reminded that that's what we're here to experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if we could stay in tune with that,
Yeah.
man, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Nice. So volleyball, and did volleyball lead into this book, or what inspired the inspired athlete?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, it did. I have a story about it. So the inspired athlete. So a lot of people are like, what is that? What does that mean? So what that means to me is the energy that's inside of us all. It's the energy of the inspired athlete. So even if you don't consider yourself a competitor or even an athlete, I know that word can turn a lot of people off. Like, I'm not an athlete. Well, my belief is that you are. We're all the inspired athlete. And that's what the book's about. It's like how to tap into that energy, right? And even, and what do I mean by that? Well, like, if you just took a deep breath of oxygen this morning and you felt connected to your body and you just went for a walk, that's the inspired athlete. The inspired athlete wants to breathe and move and have fun. And well, the next level to that would be compete. But we could just start with breathing and moving and just, you know, being appreciative for your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was your first book you ever wrote?
Yeah, it's my first book. Yeah, it took about 5 years actually.
Wow.
And I completed it last year.
Nice.
And yeah, there's a little pyramid of the of inspired living, which I created to help me stay inspired. You know, because the whole idea of the book is I was not the inspired athlete my whole career. You know, and it's a struggle to be inspired, right? It's not easy, you know, and so when I was at UCLA, I went the other way. I was uninspired, and so yeah, fast forward, I just kind of I said, you know what? Let me like write to my 12-year-old self about all the things that I've learned on how to stay inspired, how to kind of stay in that space a little bit more, and I'll write to myself as a 12-year-old in hopes to help other people.
Yeah. And what were the main things you were saying to your 12-year-old self?
Be grateful. Number one, like that, you know, like look around you. Don't like focus so much on your goals. It's great to have goals. Definitely it's part of the whole process, but the focus should be like, I'm here right now and I'm loving this. And thank you so much for my opportunities right now. Like that, I think that vibe can carry forth to the goals.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say that, but the whole book is about that, right? And learning self-love. That's chapter 1, is like learning how to love yourself. And then going from there, right? It's like this foundational, the part of the pyramid is love, family, gratitude, and health. Right. And like having that foundation and then going forth from there.
Yeah.
You know? So,
I always say that if you can start your day in gratitude, then nothing can really bother you that much. You know?
And yeah, absolutely. 100%. And it's been tossed around quite a bit lately. Gary V talks a lot about that.
Love him.
Love Gary Vaynerchuk.
Have you met him before?
I haven't, but I would love to have him on my podcast one day.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've learned a lot from him, and he talks about kindness all the time, which I love, coming from such a great marketer and entrepreneur. But he talks, you know, he's been talking about gratitude for a while, and it's become like a buzzword. And I love that. I think it should be a buzzword.
It should be.
You know? And I think, and I talk about this in the book, is that that's the first level. The second level is appreciation. And once you get from gratitude to appreciation, then it's just it's a vibe. I think the gratitude's like an idea. It's like, yeah, we should be grateful. Yeah, that sounds good. Appreciation is I freaking appreciate everything.
Yeah.
And appreciate actually means to level up. Like when money appreciates, it goes up, right?
Yeah.
So I think appreciation is gratitude exponentially.
In action,
Yes,
almost. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next level?
The next level. So the next level is it's going to be, well, confidence, clarity, and creativity. And these are just ideas, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no right or wrong to any of
Right.
this stuff, but these are the things that I would tell my 12-year-old self, right? And like, you know, work on that confidence, you know, have clarity, you know, so that you're not unclear about your next steps. Going back to their goals. Yeah, that's where the goals would come in. Let's get clear on where you want to go.
Yeah.
Right. And then that creativity, I think is imperative. It's a must that we are creators.
Yeah, we are.
Right? We are not like there's that, you know, that word consumer. Oh, it's just like it's almost like cringy. Creative, creators. We are here to create.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to tap into that more for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, for you, like, how do you stay motivated on a daily basis? Because staying motivated and staying consistent, like we can all have like a great vision and want to do something, but unless we have the consistency and the motivation to do that on a daily basis, it's not going to work out.
Yeah. Oh man, great point. That might go back to your whole thing about the sober lifestyle, because I'm more motivated than ever.
Yeah.
And I stopped consuming alcohol over a year ago.
Okay.
I'm a year and 4 months into my sober journey.
Amazing. Good for you.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm constantly motivated. I have all this energy now. I have this creative energy. I'm working on music now. I'm tapping into I'm a guitar player.
Nice.
So I'm tapping into that energy more. I'm motivated to keep that going. I'm motivated to get in better shape. I'm motivated to be a better friend, a better family member, a better member of society. My motivation is kind of at an all-time high right now.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing when we stop drinking or doing drugs or whatever it is for us? Like, it's just like a whole new lease on life.
Yes.
It's like the superpower. We can just do anything.
Yes.
All the fog clears out of our head and it's like, oh, wow, I feel great.
Yes.
I think like people don't realize like alcohol, they go out and they drink socially or whatever it is for them. And it's a depressant, and maybe in the immediate, like in those couple hours, like I always trip on that. Like, okay, you're going to have some fun, maybe for like a couple hours. And then you're going to feel like shit. You're going to be depressed. You're going to be anxious, like all these things. It's just our mind, saying like, that's a good time. Like not weighing out what that's actually going to look like. Like for you, how long were you drinking for?
Right. Okay. So yeah, well, I'll just tell you my story.
Okay. Let's hear it.
The whole thing, and just cut me off whenever you want. But, I worked really hard in high school. I stayed away from partying. I was like going back to the goals. I was like, I want to be a D1 athlete. I was really like, that title was important to me. I knew I could do it. Good question. I knew I could do it. But there was a side of me that wanted to prove to other people that I could do it.
Yeah.
Right. I could be that D1 athlete. In retrospect, I probably shouldn't have had that. I know a lot of athletes want to prove stuff to other people. I don't think that's the right approach.
And was it proving it to family or friends? Or
I think it was everybody.
Just everybody.
And then that's the ego, right? It's like, look what I can do. Look at me. Look,
Okay.
And so I don't think that's the right approach, but I had that. And so I said no to a lot of like parties and like, hey, Aaron, come out, let's do this. I was like, nope. I got to work out. I got to do my thing. I got to get my rest. I'm focused, And so I get there, I get to UCLA, and I turn into the party guy.
Wow.
Right. So I kind of celebrated. I'm like, here I am.
Yeah. I made it.
I remember there was one day in practice actually where I was actually a little surprised at myself. I looked down at my jersey and I was like, it said UCLA on it. I was like, really?
That moment. Yeah.
I was like, here I am. That's pretty cool,
Yeah.
And instead of doubling down on that focus, which I probably should have done, I let loose and I partied and enjoyed that lifestyle. I did, and then I got in trouble and I got a DUI. And that moment, I'm happy to talk about it more, but that moment was a turning point for me. It was like, really? Me? Like I was like, I was the goody, almost the goody two shoes, I was like focused, I was on point. And then that moment hit and it was like, whoa, and thank God no one got hurt. And, I did get suspended from the team, but like it was a big wake up call for me.
Humbling experience.
Very
I'm
much
sure.
so.
Yeah. So what happened after that?
After that, well, so I got in trouble. I lost my license because I was under 21. I was 20. Right. So I lost my license. I got a bicycle. I was super embarrassed. But then what I decided to do is I said, okay, this party scene, it's old. It's cool and fun and stuff, but it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
So I started doing a lot of yoga actually.
Okay.
And all my friends were making fun of me at the time.
Yeah.
I'm 20 years old and I was like, you know what? I actually really like the vibe in the yoga studio. So I ended up getting a job at the yoga studio. I was like, I think I want to be here more. I'm still in college. I'm still living in a place where there's tons of parties around me. We had a party house, but I was like, I think I'm kind of moving in a different direction, And so I got a job at a yoga studio and that was great. That was really good. I met a lot of people. The vibe, like I said, the vibe in there. You know, people committing to themselves.
Yogis are nice.
Yeah,
They're chill people.
Yeah, I met you know, at the time, a great girl, and we ended up having a beautiful relationship. But yeah, that was that DUI. You know, I remember getting arrested that night too. And I've never really publicly talked about this. So thank you for the opportunity, because I really hope this helps somebody listening.
It definitely will.
But I remember being handcuffed, and you know, I got taken in, and they handcuffed me to the wall. And I remember that moment of like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, this is not me, right? And I remember like feeling ashamed and like super low, just like, whoa, dude, this is where you're ending up. Because of the choices that I made. You know, and real quick, this might be relatable to someone listening, right? So the moment, I want to go back to the night of the DUI.
Yeah.
So like, we were at a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert. It was like amazing. It was so
Love
fun.
them.
Yeah. And the bottle was being passed around, you know, and everyone was taking swigs, you know, and there was the moment of time to go, and the moment of, can I drive home? You know, and my ego, going back to ego, was like, of course you can.
Right.
No problem. You know, so I piled 9 people into my Jeep.
Wow.
My Jeep was like riding on the tires, music blasting the whole way, and I got everyone back safe, no problem.
Thank God.
You know.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. Thank God. Everyone got out of the car. They're like, "Thanks, Wex." You know, people call me Wex, my last name. That was awesome. And then my ego said, in this moment, everyone got out of the car. And my ego was like, yeah, celebrate them even more, right? It was like that energy of like, yeah, look at you. You did great, bro. You're amazing. You're untouchable. And I just laid on my horn, like in celebration, because I saw everyone outside, and we were like, you know, I was like, yeah, dude, what a great night. Do.
Yeah.
Boo.
Wow. That's quite the image.
Lights right. I just got lit up right behind me, and I got pulled over, and that was that story, and ended up getting a DUI, you know, and the moral of the story is like, when you have that decision to make and you're impaired by alcohol, your ego is probably going to take over.
For sure.
That was not my true self.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And now looking back on that was 20 years ago. It was 20 years ago.
No, sorry.
Looking back on that, you know, it did turn into a blessing for me.
Yeah.
You know?
All those things are blessings.
Yeah.
You know, I look at those like that's God, you know, giving us a blessing. And I think if we have to ask ourselves in those situations if we can drive or not, then it means we shouldn't be driving.
Exactly.
But it's so hard because in the moment, I mean, I've been there too. I just got lucky, you know.
Yeah.
But it's so hard once we start drinking. We just the ego. We're not rationalizing things properly. Yeah.
So then I you know, had to go to AA. You know, had to do all the things, right?
Yeah.
And
Did you learn anything there, or?
Yeah, you know, happy to talk about it. So, you know, like the whole thing with AA, you know, I know it works for a lot of people. For me, the hard part for me was when you have to go around and you say, I'm an alcoholic, right? So for me, like, I was like, I made a bad decision. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't like that label, because I never really felt that anyway. I felt like, you know, drinking was fun and all, but I didn't really feel attached to it. I didn't need it. But, you know, that whole idea of like going around and like sharing that, it frustrated me.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to say that, you know, I want to say I'm a being of pure positive light and limitlessness, and I'm attached to source, and I'm Aaron Wexler, and here I am, and I'm fucked up one night, and I'm so sorry, but that's my story.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted to say.
That's what you wanted. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It sounds good.
Yeah. And I do believe that, actually.
Yeah.
I actually do believe that.
Yeah.
But I also learned that it's very empowering to, you know, to share your shit, to share your shit.
It really
you know?
is.
It's empowering because it's relatable, and then you can start to find the way forward in a better way once you share, once you let it out on the table, once you put it and you say, hey, this is me, this is what happened, this is what I'm struggling with, you know, I'm here for help, I'm open to help others, here I am. That's pretty cool, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was super empowering for me as well. I mean, I went through AA for like the first couple of years of my recovery, and I'll do a little bit here and there, but just being able to be like brutally honest,
Yeah.
and then realizing that there's so many people in there that are relatable and looking for those similarities and not the differences. Because when I first went in, it was like, I'm not like these people.
Yeah, totally.
They don't understand me. I wasn't homeless. I wasn't using needles. I wasn't this. I wasn't that. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
The whole story I told myself. But at the end of the day, like we all had these behaviors and different things that we could relate to. And it was very therapeutic for me going through that whole process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And I totally respect it. I think one thing that I will say that I didn't like was the powerless part. Because I wanted to be to be empowered.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think I think it's important to remind yourself that you got this power inside of you. It's not like a substance or a person or anything outside of you. Like that, and this is my belief. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying this is my belief. That's where I was coming from. So I wanted that one thing it kind of like got me stuck on like how to move forward with the steps or the program. You know what I mean?
I get it. And a lot of people do say that. So
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
So you just continued like socially to drink, or what did that look like? Because obviously there's like a 10-year span in between then and now.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to do the math. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Well, literally, I mean, pretty much 20 because I was 20 at the time. I'm 40 now. So yeah, there was almost 2 decades
You
there.
do not look 40. Does he look 40? No.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Wow. You got a baby face. That's crazy.
Appreciation.
Okay. All right.
Appreciation.
Keep going.
No, I mean, alcohol is part of the beach culture, right? It's always there, And then one thing too, I was thinking about this also, like when you win an event as an athlete, that is the first thing that you get handed. It's a
drink.
beer,
It's a beer.
champagne.
Yeah.
It's like you get a champagne bath if you win. So, it's kind of always around, Isn't that strange? Like, it's like the very first thing you just accomplished something so great. Here's some poison.
I could so go down a rabbit hole with that
I know.
because just culturally in society, just what we do with alcohol, it's like no wonder.
Yeah, it's really strange. So so long story short, I did continue to like, I had a way better relationship with it. I never ever got anywhere near drinking and driving again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just always around, and it was kind of nice it was kind of nice for me on a hot day to have a cold beer. You know?
That sounds nice.
Yeah, so I had, I just lived that lifestyle, and never really got in trouble or anything with it. But like that was the lifestyle.
Yeah. And so then you just completely stopped a year ago. What made you decide to completely stop?
So there was an event that happened, and it was really challenging for me. It was the biggest challenge of my life. I met someone, she had a really intense alcohol issue. I saw that early on, and I was really trying to help. We ended up kind of, having this strange intimacy. And I say that because it never really felt right. And it was just kind of like tiptoeing on, is this right? Is this wrong? Like, what is this? It wasn't like a strong yes. It was always like, I don't know. It was like a big question mark. And without going into like too many details, what happened is that this person ransacked my apartment. And there was alcohol involved. And it became, so that night, I get to my place, there's police there, and the policeman walked me through my apartment. And before he did, he's like, hey, you need to prepare yourself for this, and I walked in, and, it just felt like I hit rock bottom. Like everything was trashed, my whole place.
Just turned upside down.
Just everything.
And this was, you guys had broken up, obviously, or she was in a drunken rage.
Definitely. That was the...
I mean, but going up, and there's obviously a big blowout. She was in a rage, went into your apartment, and just, Wow, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So that, I walked through, and I started crying, and it just felt like I hit rock bottom, And the other part that I'll share too is that, so that was the day. So I actually had a beer at the beach earlier that day. So that was the last day. Because that moment, I was like, I don't want to be around this.
Yeah.
This is not for me.
Yeah. This is
not,
only negative in my life.
yeah, this is not me, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't want to I don't want to put blame on that person. This is right now, this experience and what I'm sharing right now, this is me.
This is you. Yeah.
This is me. And this is me allowing that person into my life and allowing this energy around me. So I actually send love to that person. She's not in my life anymore, but I send love to her. And I think that's a big part of this journey. I think what happens is like because I definitely felt like a victim, right? But I think what happens when you feel like a victim is you immediately have the FU energy.
Yep.
Right?
For sure.
And what I've learned is that can lead to resentment. And resentment is the lowest vibrational energy. It's even below hate.
Yeah. I agree with you.
In my opinion. You know?
I totally agree with you.
And so that my intention to share all this with you and your listeners is to hopefully inspire someone to, if you've been impacted and you've been victimized, first of all, to look in the mirror. Okay, you allowed it somehow. You invited it in somehow.
The accountability there.
Yes.
The awareness.
Yes.
Yeah.
And second of all, send love. Just
Absolutely.
send love. You know.
Yeah, and I've been in situations where not the same, but similar in a different way, where I was a victim, right? And part of my journey through recovery over the last 7 years is really going from that victim state of mind to a survivor state of mind, because you're exactly right. When I was a victim, I was holding on to that anger and that resentment on such a level that it was controlling my life, unbeknownst to me, in all these ways and all these behaviors that I had. And you get used to like sitting in that shit.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I really sat with that and did the work, and I'm like, okay, I need to forgive, show love, love, tolerance, patience, all those things, and move into this survival mode and then do something positive with it.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, whoever comes into our life is meant to come into our life to either teach us a lesson or help us grow or show us something and teach us something. I mean, the good, the bad, and the different, it's all meant to be, so.
But I want to say, it's meant to be if you choose it to be.
If
now,
you choose it,
I think that's a huge thing. And I was just talking with my friend Aaron, his name is also Aaron, on the way down here. And I want to make sure I get this point. So I think this is a perfect time for this. Everything is up to you. It's all up to you. He told me that like over 20 years ago. And I was like, oh, that's a nice thing to say. But now I get it. It's so true. Everything is up to you. So if your apartment gets ransacked, like happened to me, it's up to me how I'm going to deal with that.
Yeah. Your reaction.
Right? It's up to me.
Yeah.
Right? Even taking a drink, like it's not the drink's choice. It's up to me if I want to take the drink.
Yeah.
It's not anyone else's choice if I want to decide to not have alcohol anymore. It's up to me. So I really want to get that point across. Like whoever's listening to this right now, it's up to you. Everything in your life is up to you. How you even listen to this conversation. You could judge it. You could judge me. You could judge Jenny, or you could not. Or you could say, hey, these two people are really trying to share inspiration and help people. And I just want to make sure that that's accentuated, because that is the best piece of advice I've ever received in my life. And I told Aaron that I was going to pay that forward. So
absolutely. Well, thank you, Aaron. The other Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.
But it's so true. I mean, we are completely in control of our lives if we choose to do that. And I think, it's like we're brought up in this society, in this culture where it's like we're listening to other people and we're like following this path that we're given. And if we could just stop and have that awareness that we can choose whatever we want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no matter what situation comes in our way, like I look at myself and go, okay, how am I going to react to this?
Yeah.
Am I going to have an emotional reaction? Am I going to sit and look at how this feels in my body? All these things that I can do, and then I can make like the right choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we get to do that today. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, it sounds like that all turned into something beautiful and positive. Did you start this book before or after? When did this book come out?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I was actually right in the middle of the completion process of the book when that happened. So I was writing high. Like I was like, oh my God, I'm about to be an author, a published author. I'm going to share this message of inspiration and love and gratitude and clarity and confidence and bold action and inspired living. What a cool message to share. I was like,
Yeah.
I almost was like, I don't really see anything else. I'm just floating in the clouds. And I think, you know, that's another good message is like, if you're riding high on your own energy, that's a beautiful thing. That's a great place to be, but also be aware, have discernment, have boundaries, right? I didn't have them up at the time. I think that was a big lesson for me. And now I've created some boundaries, you know, and that's very important. You know?
And boundaries are huge.
Yeah.
So what does that look like for you, creating boundaries?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, the first one I created was with alcohol itself. You know, I just made a decision that the boundary that I was going to create was going to say, you know what? I'm cool on alcohol. I don't really need it. And nowadays, there's so many other things that can actually make you feel great, like alcohol, because alcohol is nice. You know, I want to say this before I go into the question. I want to say that when you decide to have a drink of alcohol or any substance or drug or anything, if the intention is to feel better, that's actually a pretty good intention. You know, you want to, like, we want to feel good in life. You know, you don't necessarily have to pick something that's poisonous to get that feeling. You could still have the intention.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could still have the intention to feel better and choose something else, whether it's like, I like to have like adaptogens and like, I call them hippie drinks, where they're, you know, they give you a similar effect of alcohol, but without the alcohol, or even whether it's like a framework of mind, you could like, that's going to help you feel better, or a person or whatever the thing is. The intention to feel better, I think, is relatable to all human beings.
Yeah.
We all want to feel good.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So I just want to make sure that's clear. Like,
Yeah. I love that.
yeah. And that actually, I'm taking that from Abraham Hicks. I'm a big Abraham Hicks
me too.
fan. I've seen them many times. But they said that, so I wanted to share that. But going back to the boundaries, so that was the first boundary I made. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna choose a different path.
Yeah.
You know, and also, you know, with people, you know, I've decided that because I'm really open. And my whole life I've been that way. I'm very trustworthy of people. And I think after this experience, you know, I've been able to create more discernment about people and been able to read people better and understand if this person is a yes or a no for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Being able to recognize those, you know, warning signs, those red flags. So for somebody out there that's watching, you know, that's in a situation right now where they really like this person, but it doesn't seem right. Maybe they're drinking a little too much. Like, what were some things now looking back, these red flags that you could say so that people, okay, yeah, maybe that's what's going on.
I had a lot of them. There was a lot of them. And again, I'm not trying to throw that person under the bus. Of course
not.
But there were many yellow, orange flags, and maybe some red flags. And the first one I'll say is lying.
Okay.
You know, lying is a big red flag. That's actually a bright red flag.
That's screaming.
Yeah, because there's got to be some underlying. That's a play on words. There's got to be some underlying reason why they're lying.
Yeah,
why
right.
the truth is not coming through.
Yeah.
Right. Because the truth is the truth.
Right.
Is the truth is the truth.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and the truth is, we are, in my opinion, we are spiritual beings having a human experience.
That's right.
You know, and that's the truth. And then all the other things are the truth if they are the truth. If they're not the truth, then that's a red flag.
Yeah.
So, you know, so that I'd say that one. And then also getting arrested. You know, that's a red flag.
That's a big red flag.
That's a red flag, you know, and there were a couple times leading up to that event where that happened, and I just kept forgiving, and I was like, oh, no problem.
Yeah.
You know, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
You know.
So would you date somebody now that drinks?
You know, that's a good question. I'm going to say something similar to what Kelly Siegel said. Shout out Kelly Siegel.
What up, Kelly?
Yeah, man, you're the man. So he was a guest on your show recently, and I love what he said. Like, it's not so much about what other people choose to do if it doesn't affect me and my well-being, you know, in a negative way. It would be nice, I think, for me if that person chose something else. But it's not my place to judge what they're going to do. You know, I don't want to judge anyone. I don't think we're here to judge people.
Yeah.
You know, as long as it's, you know, safe and it's not negatively impacting me, I'm not going to worry about what other people are going to do. Now, if it's negatively impacting and I see that, then yeah, that's a no for me.
Yeah.
You know, but my opinion, now knowing what I know, I've done actually a lot of research on alcohol. Alcohol is straight poison.
Yeah, it is.
There's like, and I want to say this too about alcohol. When I made that choice to say goodbye to it, I did this really simple equation in my mind. It's called a cost benefit analysis. What are the costs of this decision and what are the benefits? Right? Very simple. You use that in economics or business, right? The costs were quite a bit. The benefits, not so much. I was like, that's an easy equation for me. If the costs outweigh the benefits, that's a no for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very simple equation. So I would implore anyone listening to use that in anything, not just alcohol, but like, should I go on a date with this person? Should I enter a relationship in this business? Should I go to this place? Whatever the should is, just do a quick, simple cost benefit analysis.
I think when you put it down on paper too, and you can actually look at it, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah.
So you have a podcast.
Yes.
What is it called?
It's called Within the Game.
Within the Game. When did you start that?
Started that in the pandemic,
Okay.
Right in the middle of 2020. And I did it because I was doing interviews at coffee shops for that book.
For the book,
Yeah, I was
okay.
interviewing people for quotes for the book. And I was loving these interviews. Like, like there was so much juicy stuff that came through.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, can't do that anymore. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just do them all on Zoom. And I did them on Zoom. And then I was like, wait, these are pretty cool. Maybe I should publish these. And that's when I figured out, I'll turn it into a podcast.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the guests that come on, are they mostly athletes or?
Yeah. So I started mostly with athletes and definitely, you know, there's a lot of athletes that still come on, champions, even just, you know, people that identify with that word athlete. But now it's kind of evolved into entrepreneurs and people that that really get what I'm trying to convey with the message of the inspired athlete, which I believe it's inside all of us.
Yeah.
Right. So entrepreneurs, and there's even a spiritual trajectory that it's taking now too. So it's been so much fun, and it's actually changed my life.
That's
to be
amazing.
honest. Yeah.
So what does the future look like for you spiritually? Because it seems like you're on a growth with that.
That's a great question. I'm on track to be a galactic traveler.
A galactic traveler. Can you explain that to everybody?
Yeah, this is a cool one. So I'm going to share this. This is called the Spiritual Ascension Pathway.
Okay.
And
where'd you learn this stuff, first off?
Yeah. I'm in multiple different groups.
Okay.
You know, and this particular one was, I'm in a men's group called Stewards of Source, and we talk about a lot of spiritual concepts. So this spiritual pathway, I've actually built on it for fun. So anyway, I'm going to say it in the masculine, but it can go for the feminine as well. So the first level is you're a boy, right? And then from boy, you become a man. And then from a man, a lot of people kind of get stuck in one of those two in life. But then if you want to get to the next level, you become a king. You create your kingdom, right? From there, a lot of people get stuck there. They're like, yep, I'm a king. Here I am. Here we go. But then once you realize your manifestation powers, you become a wizard and you start to manifest certain things even more than becoming a king and really have fun with that. And once you become a wizard, I believe the next level to that spiritual ascension is you become a sage and you just give everything away for free. And you don't worry about any reciprocation because that's what a sage does. Just gives away the knowledge, right? You've experienced, you know, being a boy, being a man, being a king, being a wizard. And now you're just like, here it all is, right? And then after that, you become a galactic traveler. And to me, that just means, you know, you've experienced life here on this planet, and it's time to go see some other planets and other star systems. And I know that's kind of a little funny, and people might be like, okay, what are you talking about? But I'm just having fun with the spiritual journey there. And like, you can actually astral travel if you really get deep into the, you know, that whole world.
I actually believe in all that stuff. And it's not a question I normally ask. I don't think I've ever asked the spiritual, what the future looks like for you spiritually. It's usually like, so what do you have in store for the future?
Yeah.
But I just got that vibe from you that you're on this like growth into this spiritual path. So I love that. It's very cool. So where are you at right now? Let me guess. What do you think, Emily? King?
I'm working on my kingdom for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm working on the kingdom. But I also wanted to share one more spiritual concept, if that's okay.
Of course.
So on that pathway, and again, hopefully this is relatable to someone listening, but there's something called vertical alignment that I think has really, really been helpful for me. And really what that means is your connection from your feet, from your heart, from your head to the cosmos, back down into the earth. And that connection is called vertical alignment. And if you can operate from a place of alignment, which is a spiritual concept that gets thrown around a lot, but if you can remember the vertical alignment, I think that's really helpful from a foundational place first before you go take action. Like, where's my vertical alignment right now? It's a good check, you know? And even if whatever your belief is with God or higher power or source energy or whatever that word is, or even if you don't, I think it's really good to remember that vertical alignment. It's like a check on yourself. Where am I at? You know?
Excuse me. And do you do that on a daily basis? Like, what does your spiritual check-in look like for you daily?
The exercise is to create a alarm on your phone, and it's or a timer or an alarm.
Yeah.
And if it can go off every hour, I think that's great too. But for me right now, it's about 4 times a day, and I literally labeled it, you know, manifest, create, and remember who you really are. And that's kind of it, right? And so like that's my spiritual practice is when that goes off, I take that moment throughout my day to be like, yeah, I'm on my pathway. I'm on that trajectory. And even the whole idea of inspired living, right? It's a trajectory. It's not like I'm going to be like that all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a human being where we're emotional. We go through ups and downs, right? But that one exercise of putting on the alarm and just with a little simple, and you could call it whatever you want if it's positive, right? Make a little positive note to yourself, reminding yourself who you really are and what you're here to really do.
Yes.
Right? And like, I'm getting fired up now because like that's part of my message is to remind everyone, including me, the simple question that helps with the answer to your question, which is like, what's the practice? The practice is to ask yourself, who am I and what am I here for? That's a great question to ask yourself on a daily basis. And what that does when you start to answer it, or you allow your subconscious to start to answer it, is you start to listen to the little nudges, the intuitive nudges. Hey, the nudge, go down on Jenny's podcast. Yeah, go do that.
Yeah.
You know, oh, hey, you know, like go to the ocean and take time for yourself. Oh, yeah, like go self-care. Oh, yeah, go talk to your mom. You haven't talked to her in a while. You know, like those little nudges. Or, hey, go create the podcast that you want to create, or go write the book that you want to write, or like do the thing that's on your mind that's pushing yourself to do it. Like those are the things that I think are part of that whole spiritual pathway that we talked about, right? And saying yes to what's a yes and saying no to what's a no.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. And manifestation. I mean, I'm so big on manifesting stuff into my life. I mean, it's crazy. I've been doing it for years, and the more aligned I get with myself spiritually and just grounded in what I'm doing and my purpose and my path, it's things just keep happening, you know? And it's like, I keep pushing it out there, and it's people that know me will be like, did you just manifest that into your life again? Because it just keeps happening. Like, what does manifestation look like for you?
That's being a wizard.
Yeah.
And just saying,
that's the wizard.
That's the wizard. And just, you know, just thinking of things. So I heard Kelly talk about this too, right? It's not just thinking of things, right? You have to take the action. That the action is where you get the stuff done. But there's a whole big setup that you can do before the action or before the result, that you can feel the feeling of the wish fulfilled before.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can totally get into that emotional state.
Yeah.
you know, and I believe that's a huge part of manifesting and just like enjoying that feeling, because you can create the feeling on your own before, you know?
And I do that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That's part of my routine where I take some time in the morning. I get up really early and I'll like visualize and I'll journal the things that I'm manifesting into my life. And what I have found to be key in that is truly believing it for yourself. Because that's like such a huge thing, is that like people will say, oh, I want to do this or I want to do that. But unless you truly believe it, like deep in your soul,
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's a little tricky to do that if you've never done that for something smaller. Like I believe it's better if you can believe in something that you've already gotten accomplished, right? And you can take that experience and then transfer that to the next thing.
For sure.
So
That's how mine started.
Yeah,
Just like
yeah.
that. Yeah. Oh, I was able to do this.
Right.
And then, you believe
Right.
it and move on
That
to bigger
helps with
and bigger.
belief. 100%. Yeah.
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 Right on.
Yeah.
And then there was something else I really wanted to ask you.
Can I say something about alcohol again for a second?
Absolutely.
So if anyone's listening to this and they're struggling, you know, I just wanted you to know that you're not alone, and it's super relatable to like everybody. You know, I kind of wanted to hear that from me when I was going through my stuff. Like I did so much healing last year and whenever around my whole event, and I reached out to a lot of people. Actually, I reached out. There's a couple people specifically that like that really guided me through the healing process. And I wanted to say that healing, first of all, you can't rush your healing.
You know that song by Trevor Hall?
Yes, I do. It's an
like
amazing
one of my
song.
favorite songs.
Let's go, Trevor.
Ever.
Trevor,
love Trevor Hall.
we love you, and that song is just, it just hits.
I listen to it at least once a week.
Yeah, and anyone, we should link that on the show notes.
We should.
Because that's a beautiful song. So you cannot rush your healing. But I also want to say, like, when you commit to your healing and you choose yourself first, the whole world opens up. And then what happens, and what happened for me and what I'm experiencing right now, is I shine my light like the sun, where I don't need anything back. Like the sun just shines its light. It doesn't need light back. It's just going to keep shining.
Yeah.
And I love that analogy, right? Because especially dealing with alcohol or dealing with a bad thing that happened, or you're working through a relationship, or like that, remember that word resentment that we talked about? The sun doesn't do that. You know, the sun just keeps shining.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's a great metaphor for us. And another metaphor that I want to share quickly too. I know I'm rambling a little bit.
No,
but,
you're totally good.
But like, there's a metaphor of being a lighthouse that really helped me with my healing journey. And again, it's a spiritual concept, but I'll share it right now. The idea of being a lighthouse is that you just rotate your light in a very grounded state, like a lighthouse. A lighthouse doesn't move. It's like in the ground, and it rotates its light. And the reason why it does that is it shows where land is for the ships, right? And it makes sure that, you know, it's there to help. It's like, hey, here's where the land is. Don't come over here and crash into the rocks.
Yeah.
Right. And it just rotates unconditionally. It doesn't ask for anything back.
Yeah.
And I love that metaphor.
I love that.
Yeah, because we can
So
practice
true.
that as human beings and as warriors of the light. I like to call myself that.
Warriors of the light.
Yeah. And and especially in the sober path, you know, like there are a lot of dark ships out there. And going back to the lighthouse, even if a dark ship crashes on your rocks, you will continue to rotate your light.
Yes.
It doesn't, you know, hey, you know, you can be compassionate for that dark ship and you can actually shine your light back to it, but you're going to continue to rotate your light. It's unconditional. It's being unconditional. That's my message, right? The inspired athlete is unconditional. It's the conditions don't matter. Shit's going to happen. Things are going to happen. Dark ships are going to crash into the rocks. You know, maybe your light gets dimmed a little bit on the when it rotates, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to self-judge yourself. You don't have to judge yourself at all. You don't have to judge anyone else. You can step into unconditional love, and that's a practice. It's not easy to do that all the time. But even right now with the Middle East stuff that's going on, like I'm really trying my best to channel that sun energy, you know, and just send that love
Yeah.
that way, you know?
Absolutely. I love your vibe. You're great.
Thanks.
Lastly, that's what I
Yeah.
wanted to talk to you about
Sure.
was music.
Yeah.
So you're really passionate about music. How did your love for it change over the last year when you decided to stop drinking?
Oh,
What
man.
did it do for you?
Thank you so much for asking about that. It's been a very personal part of my life that I just never really shared. And the reason why I didn't really share is because I had a ton of self-doubt about my own, you know, even being able to call myself a musician. Like I've identified it as an athlete, right? I'm like, do I want to like put on another label, you know? And what I've learned lately in my life is like, we can have multiple labels. You can
Sure, we
be
can.
you can be multi hyphenated. You know what I mean?
Why not?
Right.
You can choose whatever you want.
You can going back to that's
There
up to
you
you,
go.
right? But the music it's been inside me, and it's like, you know, I've suppressed it for weird reasons, lack of confidence, self-doubt. But recently I've learned again about self-doubt. Hopefully this is relatable to someone going through something about self-doubt. If you doubt yourself or doubt your craft or doubt something about you, I used to think eradicate self-doubt. You don't need it. But now self-doubt is a tool. If you doubt yourself, so for me, well, I'll just talk about me, for example. So I had some self-doubt with my ability to play guitar. And recently, someone by the name of Adam Roa, who's an amazing person, he's a creativity coach. He told me, he was like, self-doubt is a tool. If you doubt yourself and your ability to play guitar, that's a nudge for you to go practice your guitar a little more.
Nice. I love
And
that.
I was
That's
like,
a great way to look at it.
I know. I was like,
Yeah.
dang, that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
So we actually, if you have self-doubt, don't eradicate it. Use it as a tool to practice your thing and do your thing more. So yeah, going back to my musical journey, when I stopped drinking alcohol, and alcohol is a big part of music, right? It's always around.
Right.
You know? But when I stopped drinking, my creativity started to surge.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, let's go, right? And I started to do the soundtrack for my audiobook. That was my first project that I was like, I'm going to publish this. So that's what I did. I published 3 instrumental tracks on Spotify, and they're like the background music for my audiobook.
I love that.
And yeah, and so then now I'm just gonna keep going. I published another song featuring my friend Clayton, who's singing on it, called "World of Love," and which is awesome. That was in one take, by the way, that he did. And then and then I sat on that for 10 years because I didn't believe in it. And that's, you know, a message. If you going back to your belief,
Yeah.
gotta believe in your
You
stuff.
have to believe
You gotta
in it.
believe in it. So recently, after I stopped drinking, I was like, I believe in it. Let's go. Here it is.
Yeah.
You know. And so now I'm working on my own vocals, and I'm having a really fun time with it, and it complements my athletic journey, and it's just so fun, and it's a source of joy for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you have a really good balance in your life with the things that you're passionate about.
It's key.
And
Gotta find
honestly,
it.
like the way you talk and how inspiring you are and aware, you are like music, just
wow.
in who you are. So
Thank you.
thanks for being you, and thanks for being this amazing vibe.
Thank you. I
And
appreciate that.
It's like a song, like it really is. You're like a song,
That's
inspiring
amazing.
song.
That's
So.
amazing. What a compliment. I received that. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. Where can people find you, reach you if they're interested in what you're doing or want to know more?
Yeah, absolutely. Instagram is the best way, at AWexLA. My podcast, Within the Game, on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I am on Spotify with music, and I'm starting to build that up. But yeah, Instagram is probably the best.
Very cool. And you brought something over here?
Yeah, so this is one of my sponsors. This is called Feel Free, and
Feel Free.
It's a good alcohol replacement. I actually really like it.
Okay.
It's plant based. It's an herbal supplement. It's based from the kava root, which I really like, and I think it's I you know, you hear a lot of like mocktails now when you go
Yeah.
out. This is like a great mocktail. You can put it on ice and like sip
Okay.
it, and it's very similar. It's not the same, but it's very similar. There's another product called Hayo, which I like. Have you heard of that one?
I don't think so.
Hayo is like I call these hippie drinks.
Yeah.
You know, in Venice, you can find a lot of these drinks.
Yeah.
But there's so many options now that you can just use. Those are two right there. There's so many more, but yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Peace.